With the German Chancellor Angela Merkel. This is part of his final international trip as president. Tomorrow, they're going to be joined by other world leaders, and part of the conversation will undoubtedly be about the incoming president, President-elect Donald Trump. Joining us now from Berlin, hopefully, is White House Press Secretary Josh Earnest. Josh, do we have you with us?
Thank you very much.
Yeah, John, can you hear me?
I can hear you, and you look good, zoomed in and zoomed out. Josh Earnest, let me ask you this. President Obama has called Angela Merkel his closest partner, really, on the international stage. So what is the message he's bringing to his closest partner during this time, which is truly a unique time in American history?
Well, John, I think the message for Chancellor Merkel and for the German people is that President Obama and the American people are committed to a strong relationship between our two countries. By effectively coordinating together, we've made our citizens safer. By coordinating effectively together, we have enhanced prosperity throughout our countries. We've also been able to advance our interests around the world. And so the president is hopeful that that long bipartisan track record of close cooperation between the U.S. and Germany will continue into the next administration.
He's hopeful, but the question is, does he expect it to happen, Josh? Because much of the last year, President Obama has spent saying that Donald Trump wasn't fit or qualified to be president. And for much of the last year, if you believe the reports, he's been reassuring world leaders who've been asking that he didn't think Donald Trump would win. Now, Donald Trump is the president-elect. He did win the election. So is it an odd position to be in for President Obama to be traveling the world right now, essentially serving as a sort of ambassador for President-elect Trump, trying to convince world leaders that everything's going to be okay?
Well, John, of course, the election didn't turn out the way that we hoped that it would. But what is also true is the president has institutional responsibilities to try to advance the interests of the American people in every single possible way that he can. And that's what he's done throughout the first 7 years and 10 months of his presidency, and that's what he's going to do for the last 2 months. What policies President-elect Trump chooses to pursue is something that he and his team can speak to. What I can speak to, and what President Obama will speak to today, is how the United States and Germany have been able to advance our interests by working together. And we've done that in the field of national security. Certainly the United States and Germany are close partners when it comes to sharing intelligence. That's enhanced the security of the American people. It's certainly enhanced the security of the homeland here in Germany as well. We've been able to advance our interests by working together economically. There are strong ties between businesses in Germany and businesses in the United States, and that has expanded prosperity for both our countries and workers in both our countries. So those are just two examples of how the United States and Germany have been able to work effectively together under President Obama's leadership and based on the relationship that he has built with Chancellor Merkel. Hopefully President Trump, when he takes office, will take it from here, but that'll be up to him. He will certainly have a high standard to live up to, you know, the American people have entrusted him with the responsibility of preserving and advancing that relationship for the next 4 years.
You've been on this foreign trip for a few days. Can you speak to what concerns or questions you have heard from Greece first and now Germany about the incoming president?
Well, listen, John, based on the rhetoric of the campaign trail, there continue to be a lot of questions about what kinds of policies President-elect Trump will pursue. Only he and his team can speak to those. What President Obama had, the message that President Obama is here to deliver, is that the United States is vested in and has benefited from strong relationships with our allies in Europe. We've enhanced our national security. We have strengthened our economy. You recall when President Obama took office 8 years ago, the global economy was in a free fall, and no country around the world was facing a tougher challenge than we were in the United States. President Obama's first month in office, the U.S. economy lost 800,000 jobs. But by working with the international community and making the right investments early on in his domestic policy, we have our economy has recovered. And currently our economy is going through the longest streak of private sector job growth in our nation's history. That is a testament to the policies we put in place. It would not have been possible without strong relationships with countries around the world.
So as the president does travel the world and in some cases reassures foreign leaders about the next 4 years in this country, there's also the question about how people feel in the United States. And last night, really for the first time since she conceded, we heard from Hillary Clinton. I want to play a little bit of that.
There are also children who are afraid today, like the little girl I met in Nevada who started to cry when she told me how scared she was that her parents would be taken away from her and be deported. No child should have to live with fear like that. No child should be afraid to go to school because they're Latino or African American or Muslim or because they have a disability. We should protect our children and help them love themselves and love others.
So now, after the election, Josh, what's your message to that little girl or other people who might be afraid?
Well, John, President Obama has had an opportunity to speak to this a little bit himself. And certainly, while he has served in office, he has recognized the responsibility that the American president has to make every American citizen feel included in our country's future, that they have a stake in our country's future, and to make clear President Obama's belief and our collective belief that our country is stronger when every citizen in our country has an opportunity to contribute to the success of our country, whether that's serving our military, whether that is pursuing the kind of entrepreneurial spirit that is built into the DNA of the American people, that makes our country stronger, that makes our economy stronger, that expands prosperity and opportunity to every American. President Obama has made clear throughout his presidency that every American citizen has a place in this country and has a place in this country's future. The kind of tone that we have heard from President-elect Trump in his few public appearances since his election seem to hint at a possible change in tone from the kind of rhetoric that we saw so frequently on the campaign trail. But that's something that only President-elect Trump can speak to in terms of how he chooses to govern the country and how he chooses to fulfill the critically important symbolic responsibility of being a president who's interested in in looking out for every single American.
Josh, I want to talk to you about you right now and what many people this morning are considering an abuse of power. How you, the White House press secretary, chose to call Vin Scully to alert him that he was being awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Let me play a little bit of the sound of this conversation right now.
Every year, the president gives out something called the Presidential Medal of Freedom. It is it's the highest civilian honor that any president can give. This year, he's going to give it to you.
Oh my gosh, no.
Yes. So you've had.
Are you sure? I mean, I'm just an old baseball announcer.
All right, I've heard that so many times over the last few hours, and I love it every time. You're a huge baseball fan, Josh, albeit a Royals fan, not a Dodgers fan. But what was that moment like for you?
It was a real thrill, and it was one of the highlights of my tenure here in the White House, having the opportunity to call Vin Scully and inform him of the significant honor that he was that the president had decided he should receive. And you know, I call him Mr. Scully. I called him Mr. Scully in the phone call. He corrected me and told him I should call him Vin. So Vin is somebody who has inspired generations of American baseball fans. His professionalism, his class. He's a true gentleman, and that kind of contribution that he has made to our country is one that is worthy of the highest recognition. And President Obama is looking forward to welcoming him to the White House next week, and I'm looking forward to the chance to meet him in person for the first time.
Well, I'm glad for you that you had a chance to talk to Mr. Scully, which is what I will call him. Josh Earnest, thanks so much.